So the Camino de Santiago supposed to change you, but what if we were just halfway through and we're still waiting? This is the day number 5 of Camino de Santiago Portuguese way. We did more than 100 kilometers and we crossed the Portugal. And honestly, I thought we were gonna feel a bit different.
So if you're wondering when the Camino starts to change you, today we've got something to say about that.
And this episode is sponsored by the Camino Maps app. Camino in the morning feels like a town that hasn't fully agreed to wake up yet. The shutters are half closed, the streets are empty, even the air is quiet. And then we see it, the river. Not just water, a line. On maps, borders look like something political drawn with a ruler. But on the Camino, borders are emotional. A river doesn't care what country you're in, but you do, because rivers are thresholds. You don't just cross them by accident. You cross them because something in you decides, today we step into a next chapter. So we're standing here waiting, watching the water, and honestly, part of us is still asking the same question, where is it? Where is the big inner shift? Where is the before and after moment? Because right now it looks like a sleepy river with 2 pilgrims who still smell slightly like yesterday's walking. And then the boat arrives. And it's almost ridiculous how small this crossing is. It's not the epic voyage. It's not a stormy sea. It's basically a floating shortcut. Less than a kilometer, but it feels like a change. Because the Camino is weird like that. Sometimes the biggest shift isn't about distance, it's about direction. And for a few times, it's like the Camino holds your hand and say, relax, I will carry you for a second. On the Spanish side, we choose the literal, the longer stretch instead of the shorter one into A Guarda. And I love this moment because it's one of those decisions that looks innocent, but quietly reveals who you are. A shorter route is practical, efficient. A longer route is a vote. A vote of beauty, a vote of time, a vote for not rushing towards the net bed like it's a finish line. And if we're being honest, that's where the transformation usually starts. Not with a thunderbolt, but with a tiny decision that says, today, we don't escape the day, we live it. So we go literal. And suddenly the Camino becomes wide open. Beaches, shorelines, an endless Atlantic mood. This is one of the gifts of the Portuguese coastal. It doesn't just show you scenery, it shows you space. And the space does something to the mind. When you walk beside the ocean long enough, your thoughts start to be quieter. Not because you force them to, but because the ocean is doing what your brain can't. It stays in motion without panic. And then we enter the forest. And it's like someone changed the channel. From open Atlantic to something older. The trees pull the light downwards, the air goes cooler. And then we start seeing those strange signs. Markings that feel Celtic. Like the woods are speaking in a language we can't fully translate. And this is where the Camino gets sneaky because we came for a route, a destination, a plan. But the Camino keeps giving us symbols instead. And the mind, being the mind, wants to solve it. What does that mean? Is this a sign? Is the Camino trying to tell us something? Or is it just a sign in the forest and we dehydrated? But still we slow down, we look closer and we noticed. And that right there is the kind of change, because the older version of us, the rushed, the goal-driven version, doesn't notice signs. It notices distance, it notices deadlines, it notices the next coffee. But today we notice details, and details are the doorway to presence. And a quick thank you to Camino Maps. It's a free app that's been accompanying us on this Camino, because if the Camino gives you one thing every single day, it's choices. With the Camino Maps app, you can see full trail live, including all the variants, so switching between coastal, littoral and central actually makes sense. You can search accommodations by town, check ratings and reviews, and contact places directly. You can also build your day-by-day stage plan inside the app, see distance and elevation, and use a live distance counter so you always know how far for the next stop. And if you're stuck on where to sleep, it even gives you suggestions. So if you want the Camino that feels less stress, and more I've got this, the link is in the description, or download it on the Apple Store or the Google Play. And you know what, the best part of it, it's totally for free. A Guarda arrives gently, like the Camino is easing us into Spain. The typical Spanish town, a square, a church, and obviously bars. And yes, we immediately do the sacred pilgrimage ritual. Erica gets the orange juice, we get the coffee, and we sit like we've just negotiated the world peace. One of the smallest ways to do the Camino is to treat towns like punctuations. Not just places to pass through, but places to land. If you only walk, eat, sleep and repeat, the Camino becomes a treadmill with pretty views. But when you stop, even for 10 minutes, you give your nervous system a chance to catch up. And your nervous system is where the real Camino is happening. So A Guarda isn't a town, it's a reset button. And a reminder that we're not racing towards Santiago, we're practicing a different way to move through the world. After A Guarda, we stroll along the sea again, and we start seeing the Camino markers. Less distance every time. And pilgrims love this. We pretend we don't, but we do. It scratches that deep human itch, the progress. Look, it's less now, we're closer, we're doing it. But look at it a different way. Counting down can motivate you, or it can trap you. Because when you become obsessed with less, you start living for the future. Less kilometers, less day, less time, and you miss the only part the Camino can actually change you. This part, this step. So we try something different today. We don't just look at the markers and think closer. We look at it and think, okay, can we be here while moving forward? That's the real skill. And then we enter another forest that guards us from the sun. And after that the roads stretch. Not cinematic, not magical, just honest walking. This is where lots of people miss the transformation because it doesn't look spiritual. But the Camino changes you in those boring stretches more than anywhere else. Because it teaches you a humble kind of endurance. Not hype, not adrenaline, just ability to keep going without drama. That's a life skill. And then we reach the first bar. And inside is like a little museum of pilgrim life. Photos, notes, writing, shells. Evidence of 1,000 people who've passed through here carrying the same question we're carrying. And that does something. Because when we're walking alone inside our own heads, we start believing your thoughts are unique. But then you see those walls and you realize, oh, humans have been coming here for years. Confused, hopeful, tired, searching, trying to become someone they can finally live with. And suddenly your private struggle becomes shared. It's like a Camino saying, you're not late, you're not broken, you're just human. And after that we head towards Oia to see the monastery. And when we go inside it's dark, the kind of darkness that makes you whisper automatically. The altar is stunning, and for a moment the world shrinks to candlelight and stone and silence. And then we walk back out, from the dark of the church into the brightness of the Camino, and this is one of those unplanned metaphors that hits harder than any speech. Transformation isn't always a lightning strike. Sometimes it's simply learning how to move between inner darkness and outer light, without getting lost in either one. Then we arrive in Oia, we drop the shoes and we do the beds, and do a little end of the pilgrim routine that somehow becomes comforting. And here's the quiet answer hidden inside today. Maybe the change isn't something we notice, like a big aha. Maybe it's something we're practicing.
So, if you're wondering where and how Camino is actually changing you, here is our answer. It doesn't happen to you, it happens through you.
One step one question, one decision, even if it all feels the same.
Because there's no finish line to the transformation, and Camino, it just doesn't rush to change you. It just invites you every day to show up differently, and eventually, without you even noticing, you do change.
Buen camino.